That is a series win against the Minnesota Twins, and the Tigers cap it off with one of the most electric and honestly just coolest regular season games I've ever seen at Comerica Park. We'll talk about that and so much more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, June 30th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome in, welcome all. We are celebrating a fantastic weekend in the city of Detroit. The Tigers take 2 of 3 from their division rival Minnesota Twins. They lose Friday 4-1. Which is rare for this team, right? We've seen it, and we talked about last week, FanDuel Sports Network had the stat where they talked about how the Tigers are one of, if not just the best team in baseball in terms of game one of a series. So the Tigers drop game one, setting the tone for the weekend. You're a little nervous. They turn around, win game two 10-5, and then you have Skubal going in prime time in game three. And that is the power that you hold when you have Tarik Skubal going in game 3 of a 3-game series. Okay, you dropped game one. You're not going to sweep everybody, right? Just go out there and all you then have to do is split one of the first 2 games, right? You just have to split those first 2 and you're in line for a series victory almost automatically. With Skubal going in game 3, that was just everything about that was awesome. Sunday night baseball at home, everything rocks. Vibes are immaculate tonight. 10-5 victory on Saturday and a 3-0 victory on Sunday. The Tigers improved to 53-32. They are 21 games over 500. The Twins fall to 40-44. So my first thought, I've already kind of said a million thoughts. My brain's just going at a million miles an hour here. Everything about Sunday night was just incredible. Division rival series at home, standing room only, well over 40,000 people there for a series win. The offense really turned it around after Friday. The pitching really all weekend was really solid. Defense, I thought, was really good. We'll talk about that throughout the show. Matt Vierling is back from injury. Reese Olson might be back later this week. The best record in baseball, and hopefully some more reinforcements are even on their way. Just an awesome and fun and incredible weekend. And I think my favorite part of it on the field was that it was a lot of the core players doing the heavy lifting. And that's not to say that, honestly, like one of the biggest reasons the team has been so good this year is because they've been getting production from everywhere, right? Zach McKinstry has been phenomenal this year, right? Like obviously Javi's resurgence, Spencer Torkelson, no one expected going into the year, but seeing a series win where Riley Greene and Tarik Skubal just kind of carry the load, there's something just so visually appealing and satisfying about that. And obviously a lot of other players contributed and helped along that, but I think it's pretty easy to argue that the 2 stars of the weekend were those 2, maybe Gleyber Torres thrown in there as well. So what went right? We'll start off with Tarik Skubal, because we're running out of superlatives. We're running out of words. We're running out of ways to describe his excellence. 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, and a tied for career high 13 strikeouts on Sunday Night Baseball. He had 8 strikeouts through 3 innings, dude. That is gross. That they showed, the betting lines for his strikeout total. And the over-under going into the night was 8. Or, well, 8.5, because betting lines. He was at 8 through 3 innings, dude. 100 miles an hour on the black to end the outing and record his 13th strikeout as well. And you know, with the way this bullpen, A, has just been producing, but B, is structured, right? If you are in a must-win game, if the starting pitcher can get through 7, which are few and far between these days, just with the way baseball is played, but if you can get through 7, you then just hand it off to 2 guys with sub-2 ERAs. You just hand it off to Canely and Vest. Bada bing, bada boom. And that's exactly what he did. Primetime baseball returns to Comerica Park. Sunday night baseball has not been at Comerica Park since 2017, dude. Ian Kinsler was at the top of that lineup. Scooby on the mound, division rival, best record in baseball, Detroit Tigers. That was like, we are back. We're so back. And last year was awesome, right? And last year was awesome because it was almost like this, you know, we all called it like a magical run. It was this magical, you know, storybook kind of run where this team that was well under 500 ended up squeaking into the playoffs. And it was like this underdog story. I have missed this. This is what I have missed. I've missed expectations and producing when expectations are there, and being the team that is just feared and having really good players that just scare and put, you know, fear into your opponent's eyes. Tarik Skubal, again, Riley Greene. Just being the team and backing it up on primetime television and having the entire city of Detroit packed into a park. I mean, they had one shot in, I think it was the second or third inning, where they kind of just panned across the ballpark. And I'm not kidding. That was shoulder to shoulder. Every seat was filled up to the literal top row in the very, very upper deck. Just incredible to see. It's different, man. It's different. This is the first time in a decade that this team has been good. The city's behind it because they're being good, because they're playing well. We'll fix that English. And the expectations are coming with, again, backing it up on a night-to-night basis. The Tigers are just so back. And this was, I don't know. I don't know what it was about Sunday night, but it just, well, I do. I just listed a lot of the reasons why, but it just felt real. Awesome stuff, man. 21 games over 500. Let's talk about Riley Greene. We'll talk about a lot more players. Well, I mean, finishing up Tarik Skubal, I guess. He throws 100 and has the best changeup in baseball. He throws sliders to righties because he doesn't care, because he's a mad person. He's a psycho. I don't really know like what else to say at this point. The command was pinpoint. In the last 2 outings, I guess it kind of hasn't been. Now there's been like crazy rain delays and everything. I'm not really sure that's all his fault, but like if you were to point to the last couple of outings and compare him to this one, the command is the night and day difference. The stuff doesn't come and go with him. Like, it's always really good. It's always the same. The command was pinpoint in this outing. Pinpoint. The way he approaches hitters, the way he dismantles offenses. His pitch mix is textbook. If you are a young baseball fan and want to learn how to approach good hitters, watch how Tarik Skubal approaches hitters. Obviously, he throws 100. That helps. But like the way that they go about attacking a hitter and attacking the strike zone is just wonderful. Okay, let's get to the offense as promised. We'll also talk Casey Mize. A lot more than just Sunday night happened this weekend for the Tigers. So we'll talk about all that and more right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, like we just talked about, or golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. The Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit this weekend as well. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, has really fast payout, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am a part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow with an off day. Tomorrow's episode is a mailbag. So put your questions in the YouTube comment section. You can tweet them at me. There's no way we'll be able to get to everybody. However, we'll pick out some of try to pick out questions that maybe a lot of people asked or whatnot that are pertaining to the present, and we'll get through as many as we can on tomorrow's show. Talking about this series win this weekend at Comerica Park against the division rival Minnesota Twins. Riley Greene with a couple of home runs. He's now hitting .296 with an .887 OPS. And his OPS in the last 15 games, okay, that's like a decent sample size. You're talking about over 2 weeks, right? The last 15 games is 1,200. It's 1,200. His slug is in the 700s over the last 15 games. His OPS is over 1,000 in the last 30 games. He's locked in. He's been one of the better outfielders in baseball. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to start in the all-star game probably, and he absolutely deserves it. He's approaching 20 homers. I think he hit his 19th on Sunday night, and he is on pace for around 120 RBI. Now, they play the games for a reason, okay? We got to see him on the field. We got to see him not go through the peaks and valleys that have frustrated people up to this point in his career. But his season numbers are 296 with an OPS of just under 900. That's including the slump in April. That's including the frustrating nights that fans have maybe had. He's worth it. He's unbelievable. He is this team's best position player, and I don't think it's particularly close. Riley effing Greene, man. Thought Torkelson had some good at-bats this weekend. I also want to give him a ton of credit on that defensive play. In the 8th inning, I want to say Kane Lee was on the mound of the Sunday Night Baseball game. Fantastic pick over there. Throws it to second, get back on first base, and then stretch and get the out. Fantastic display of defense. He's come such a long way offensively this year. Least we forget, he also was a horrific defender at first, his first full season, and has improved that dramatically and drastically this season as well. So I want to give him a ton of credit there. Dylan Dingler behind the plate. Good offensive weekend, good offensive night on Sunday. Defensively continues to be such a stud as well. I don't know why anyone runs on him. I continue that. But it's just, even if, he ends up now making the All-Star game, whatever, like he's been one of the best catchers in baseball. He legitimately has been one of the 5 or 6 best catchers in the entire sport so far this year. And that is just absolutely unbelievable. Great defense from the team, I thought, this weekend. Really, Glaber, a couple of nice plays. Javi was kind of everywhere doing his thing. Want to shout out kind of everybody on the team defensively. Colt Keith getting some more looks at third. Zach McKinstry, obviously great pretty much everywhere he plays, including third. Offensively, Glaber Torres, man, hits another home run this weekend and just keeps getting on base. His OPS is now up to 823. it's a guy that hasn't really hit for a ton of pop. He's got an OPS over 1,000 in the last, I think it's like 10 games or something. So obviously there's been a little bit of a power surge lately, but like on the season hasn't had a ton of slug because he's seen a big uptick in slug lately. Now you're seeing just the overall numbers skyrocket even higher than they already were. Could have a solid, like solidified mid 800s OPS by the All-Star game with more walks than strikeouts. Just one of the more underrated signings of the offseason, and just straight up, honestly, I think it's fair to say one of the just flat out best signings of the offseason in baseball. Casey Mize, going back to the pitching side of things on Saturday, 6 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. His ERA is down to 2.86. This was a fantastic outing. The thing that separated this outing from previous ones for him is just fastball command, man. Like it is not rocket science. This guy has a really good splitter. We've seen the different variations of the slider over the season, over the course of the season, and we've seen it have varying, results and varying amount of success. Straight up, fastball command has been dramatically improved over his last 2 outings, and I think that's the reason that they look a lot better than those first few when he came back off the injured list. Because to start the season, he was locked in and he was one of the best starters in the American League. Then he goes on the injured list. The first few outings back, some people are maybe concerned and whatnot. The last 2 have kind of put those at ease. There's a chance this dude has a sub-3 ERA going into the All-Star break. And that's pretty incredible. Kerry Carpenter with a solid weekend. Some resurgence in terms of power, putting the ball in play a lot more. And really the biggest difference, again, not like some crazy theory. He's just not swinging at every high fastball he gets. He's still swinging at some of them, really, whether you like it or not. But he's actually taking fastballs at his eyes. And like that, it's crazy how much better his at-bats become when he's not just tomahawking every fastball that's above his head like he was doing there for a solid 3 weeks. So hopefully, A, he's healthy, and B, that's something that he can kind of maintain and sustain, rather, the rest of the season. Javi defensively, I mentioned, had some good at-bats, still, being Javi. Just such an awesome story this year. He's in, third, I want to say. He did make the cut for All-Star voting in the outfield. They talked about on Sunday Night Baseball, the ESPN broadcast as well, if he was to make it, that would be the 3rd different position he will have been voted into the All-Star game from. Second base, shortstop, and then center field is just unbelievable. Winfield Perez with a lot of nice at-bats on Saturday, and then Zach McKinstry with an absolute wonderful game on Saturday as well. What went wrong this weekend? Not a whole lot. The only thing that I think it's really fair to bring up, big picture wise or zooming out a little bit, is just the offense on Friday, obviously. And they got 1 run. They got diced and shut out from David Festa, who has a career ERA over 5 and an ERA well over 5 this season. And the Twins have some dogs in the bullpen. Say what you will about their season and kind of the inconsistencies that the Twins have become accustomed to. They have inarguably 2 of the better relievers in the American League, certainly, if not all of baseball, in the back end of that pen, and a couple of more guys that have really made a name for themselves this year as well. So yeah, like you got diced by a guy with an ERA over 5, and they handed it off to that solid back end of the bullpen and really shut down the offense. The offense has been very all or nothing lately. Sunday's the first time they've had a run total between 2 and 8, like all week. That they really were either getting shut out or were scoring 10, it seemed like, pretty much the entire week. So, and to be fair to them, I'm not saying that as like a bad thing necessarily, because they've been scoring a lot more times than they haven't. Outside of the 1-run game on Friday and the shutout in the middle of last week, they were crushing the ball all week. So it's okay. It's not the end of the world, and that won't last. Obviously, on Sunday, they put up 3 runs. But nice to see them recover from that after Friday. Recency bias can be kind of a tough thing to jump over, to overcome mentally. This got way deeper than I expected. Recency bias can be a thing, and so it's nice that they recovered, put up 10 runs immediately after on Friday, and then get the win with 3 runs and a couple of nice swings on Sunday. Individually, not a whole lot. I think really the only player that's fair to put in this category is just Brant Herter. At the start of the weekend, really, really struggled. This is now 3 or 4 even outings in a row where Brant Herter has just been brutal, man. Just seemingly no clue where the ball is going. Zero command. They talked to him about it, and he, I don't want to say reiterated because it's not something that's been talked about a ton, but something that has been brought up before is the fact that his mechanics haven't been very repeatable lately. And so hearing him bring that up, I think is on one side good that he knows what he's trying to work on, but also frustrating because that can be tough to overcome. And so we're just hoping that he can get back to a point where his mechanics are, repeatable and he's consistently doing what he needs to do on the mound. But hearing it come from him, I think is interesting insight. The only other thing I really want to put in this category is just Byron Buxton's unbelievable. And like, I love Byron Buxton, and I grew up in the era where he was like the number 1 prospect in baseball for 2 years in a row that everybody couldn't stop talking about. And it's been kind of sad, even though he is on a division rival, seeing him just not be able to stay on the field throughout his career. Don't forget, man, like when he is healthy, he is one of the more dynamic and just straight up best players in the sport. You saw him in center field, make a couple of nice plays on Sunday. You saw him hit home runs all weekend. He's incredible, and he destroyed the Tigers really all weekend, defensively and offensively. Let's talk stuff. We got a lot of news and notes from the weekend as well, and we'll take a look ahead at this upcoming week too. We'll do all of that right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, Kerry Carpenter removed from the game on Sunday. Winfield Perez replaces him. Looked pretty, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to put misinformation out there. Looked like it was a hamstring issue. That's something that he's been dealing with all season. Now he's been hitting lately, which has been a nice change of pace, but we'll see. I don't know that like he didn't immediately get pulled from the game, but I don't think AJ was really on the fence about it either. So we'll see what happens. He's avoided the injured list so far. Hopefully that is something that can remain, that can stay a thing, but I don't know. We'll see. It's just been kind of such a reoccurring injury. It wouldn't shock me either if they were like, you know what, just take a week and a half off, take 10 days off, and we'll, see, or maybe just like through the All-Star break even. I don't really know. But hopefully he's okay. Saturday, the Tigers win was the first win on a Saturday for the Detroit Tigers since April 26th. That is 2 full months. Saturday was June 28th. That is 2 months without a win on Saturday, and they've had the best record in baseball for a large chunk of that stretch. That is mind-boggling. It really is a testament to how good they have been in game 1 of series as well, bringing that point back up, because Saturdays are every once in a while you get, a 4-game weekend series that maybe starts on a Thursday or ends on a Monday, but as a whole, that's game 2 in most weekend series. And they weren't just losing every weekend series. So it really is a testament to how impressive they have been in game one and in series finales so far this season, but hopefully that's not a thing going forward. Let's start winning on Saturdays again. Okay, that's far too long. Matt Vierling returns this weekend as well. Put some good swings together on Friday or on Saturday rather. Sack fly, really good rip. Honestly, he is a big part of what this team accomplished last year and just hasn't been on the field so far this season. Again, more reinforcements hopefully coming to a team that's already been so good. Trey Sweeney sent to AAA. For starters, I completely agree with this decision. I do not think that it makes any sense to keep Trey Sweeney if Matt Vierling is healthy. The reason why is just the way that the field is constructed, right? Zach McKinstry can play shortstop. So you have McKinstry, who's been way better than Trey Sweeney this year, as a lefty shortstop option. Obviously, Javi is the righty shortstop option. And then at third, you have Matt Vierling. You also still have Zach McKinstry, right? Like it just, there is no place. Trey Sweeney would get 0 at bats if he was still on the team. So I think it makes total sense to send him down. He's got plenty of stuff to work on with his swing and his mechanics as well. So hopefully he can do that in AAA Toledo. Looking ahead at this week, the Tigers play the Nationals and the Guardians then this weekend, all on the road. So you got a nice little 6 or 7 games even road stint coming up here. Pitching matchups. Dietrich Enns scheduled to start on Tuesday or Tuesday. Yeah, which is pretty cool that he's getting another nod. I think that's absolutely awesome. There is no starter scheduled for Wednesday currently. Now, Evan Woodbury of MLive mentioned that it could just be Sawyer Gibson-Long because he's not currently on the probable starters list for this week. It also could be the return of Reese Olson. That would be enough time after his last rehab start. He's been in the Tigers dugout all weekend. If he travels with the team, to me, that's kind of like, okay, he's going to start on Wednesday. We'll obviously see that on Tuesday night. We'll kind of, have our binoculars out and we'll be looking in the Tigers dugout, seeing if he's with the team in Washington. But I think that makes a lot of sense. And there was an argument he was the second best pitcher on the team before he went down. With the way Flaherty's been struggling, and with Job now out for the year, Olson's going to be a huge part of what this team wants to accomplish in the second half of the season. So glad to have him back, and hopefully that is, in fact, the case. And with this series win, the Tigers are now 11.5 games ahead of the Cleveland Guardians for the lead in the American League Central. They are 12.5 ahead of the Minnesota Twins. I think they're the only team over 500 right now in the AL Central, and they're 21 games over 500. Like I said, you got Washington this week. You got Cleveland this weekend. Washington has James Wood, who is one of the bright young stars in baseball. He has his first full season in the majors, and he has the most WAR of any left fielder, I want to say, in all of baseball. I think that's true. Obviously moving around a little bit, but he's got like 4 WAR or something ridiculous already before the All-Star break in his first full season. He's absolutely unbelievable. And he was intentionally walked 4 times on Sunday. The last person who was intentionally walked 4 times in a game was Barry Bonds. Like prime Barry Bonds. Like 70 plus homers and 120 intentional walks, Barry Bonds. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of what they are going to have to face. The Nationals, also you're getting Mackenzie Gore. We'll preview this a little bit more tomorrow, more in depth, but you're going to get Gore as well, who's had a really solid year and is their ace. So not a gimme series, but a team you're better than. Go take 2 of 3. Again, we'll preview that a little bit more tomorrow. Mailbag for tomorrow's episode. So put your questions some way that I can see them, and we'll get through as many as we can. We'll end the show by saying rest in peace to Dave Parker, one of the just best personalities in the history of the game of baseball, one of the most beloved players in the history of baseball. Played for a few different teams. I think most people remember him probably from his time in Pittsburgh. However, jumped around, played for the Athletics, played in Milwaukee, played for some other teams, and is just one of the best personalities that this sport has ever seen. And yeah, man, gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, passes before the ceremony, just heartbreaking stuff. He's been fighting a lot on the health side of things for years now, and just really sad. Really sad. The sport and the game of baseball have a fantastic community. There's not too many people that were as widely beloved in said community as Dave Parker was. So rest in peace to the Cobra, and we will be back tomorrow. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.